Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of my wishlist series for the Crew 2. I know it's been a while since I've done this series, and that is because I've had other videos planned for the channel and I recently started taking a summer session of college. I actually scripted this video much earlier, but since I made this script, a lot of information has come out about the Crew 2 and I needed to adjust it because of that. Anyway, let's get right into the topics of this video. In this episode of the series, there was actually going to be a video about what Ivory Tower needed to do to make the Crew 2 better than the Crew. But I decided to scrap the video because from seeing the players playing the E3 demo and enjoying the game, it goes to show that the developers already knew what they needed to do. So this video instead will be about issues that the Crew has that should be fixed in the Crew 2. I will not be covering issues like physics engine, graphics, weather, and etc. since people have either beaten the dead horse to nothingness on the forums, or it looks like the developers have already addressed those issues. So let's get right into the video. The first issue that should be fixed is the white lights bug on the vehicle's taillights. This wasn't a major issue in the Crew before the Wild Run update came out, but after Wild Run was released, the developers turned up the brightness on all the lights to make them look better overall. But there were a select few cars that have the issue where the lights have a white or clear texture for the taillights and they will glow white as a result. This is because the developers simplified all the textures to have two textures dedicated to everything on the rear lights. There are two textures because one texture is dedicated to the non-glowing lights, and then the game will brighten up the light textures accordingly for the tail lights and brake lights, and the other texture is dedicated to telling the game where the reverse lights are located. I noticed that the Camaro ZL1 and the Crew has the white tail lights issue, well at least on the brake lights, so the developers were not able to find a solution for that issue, and because of that, I will be making a video that will show the developers an option to fix this issue for good in the Crew 2. Now on to the second issue. The second issue that should be fixed is how the rim blur is rendered on the car rims. And what I mean by that is the rim blur has a rendering system where at certain speeds the 3D rims will become 2D textures that are shaped to have the same form as the 3D rim, as you will see in this screenshot. This kind of system did work before the photo mode was added in, but the rim blur rendering looks really bad when you look at the car in photo mode. You can see that the rims become a 2D texture just by looking around the car while you're driving at speed. Not to mention that the textures for the 2D rims are pixelated in photo mode and just don't look that good. Test Drive Unlimited 2 actually had a similar rendering system for the rim blur, but the 3D rims would actually stay rendered while you're driving, even while you're driving at a very high rate of speed. I'm pretty sure the developers can find a way to make the rim blur system look better with the new game engine that they made for the Crew 2. I took a look at the Crew 2's rim blur rendering system as well, and it looks like the Crew 2 does use the same exact rendering style for the rim blur as the Crew. But the game is still in pre-alpha stage, so the developers have plenty of time to find a fix for this issue before they release the final product of the Crew 2. Anyway, moving on to the third issue. The third issue that I would like to be addressed is the GPS system in free drive challenges. The GPS has a tendency to guide you along roads that are not designed for vehicles that you're using in free drive challenges. Take for example, you take a circuit spec vehicle. The GPS will still tell you to go on a dirt road, even though the vehicle you're driving is really not designed for driving on dirt roads. It's really annoying when that happens, and what's more annoying is that the GPS in actual free drive doesn't tell you to go on dirt roads if you're driving a vehicle that's not designed for those kind of roads. And I'm pretty sure the developers will be able to figure out why the GPS acts this way in free drive challenges, but I don't know if this issue is present in the Crew 2 since the developers have kept a lot of the Crew 2's features a secret. And we don't even know for a fact if the free drive challenge system does exist in the Crew 2. In fact, I actually noticed that someone who recorded a video on the Crew 2 at E3, who I will not name, he basically accidentally showed the game's vehicle selection menu for a few seconds, and he also showed the activities menu for a second. Because of him breaking the NDA, he had to remove those parts of the video where he showed those mechanics of the game accidentally. So there is still a lot of stuff the developers have yet to show us, and one of those features that they have to show us is probably a free drive mechanic that's similar to what we have from the Crew. But I don't know that for a fact, so we will have to wait and see until the beta phases of the Crew 2 come out before we can say what mechanics are carried over from the Crew. Now moving on to the fourth issue. The fourth issue that should be fixed is fixing all the problem spots of the reused assets from the Crew before they are added into the Crew 2. As we've seen in screenshots and gameplay videos, the developers will be reusing assets in the Crew 2 that are from the Crew, which means most, if not all of the vehicle models will get reused. But some of the models actually have issues in certain aspects. I've already made a forum thread dedicated to all the issues with the 3D models in the crew, so the developers will be able to correct them and make them basically perfect when they get added into the crew too. Here are a few issues with the 3D models that I will list. The Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG Black Series is a fairly large gap between the front windshield and the front part of the dashboard for the full stock and Perspex versions. The BMW X6M does not have the paddle shifters anchored to the steering wheel for the full stock and dirt spec versions. The KTM RC8's RPM gauge does not work at all for full stock, perf spec, and circuit spec versions, and the Maserati MC12's blue parts on the RPM gauge do not glow for the full stock and perf spec versions. Those are only a few issues that I put onto the forum thread, but you'll be able to view the thread by clicking on the link in the description of this video. And that's pretty much the only issues I found with the crew that should be fixed in the crew too. Everything else seems pretty obvious to the developers as to what needs fixing. I was actually going to make a list of 5 issues, but I was only able to create a list of 4 issues in the end. If you guys have any issues that you have discovered in the crew that you would like to be fixed in the next version of the game, which I did not cover in this video and which have not already been discussed but to no end on the forums, leave a comment talking about the issue and be sure to briefly explain what the issue is doing for the game. So that way the developers will be able to figure out what's causing the issue to occur in the code. I will be sharing the video to the developers of the crew too, so there's a good chance that developers will be able to see your issues as well in the comments of this video. So with all of that out of the way, I will see you guys on my next video of the series, which will be about immersive additions that can be added to the crew too. Goodbye.